Entitled Dad ruined Thanksgiving before it even started. So, sparing too much backstory, ever since Entitled Dad divorced non-entitled Mum, bless you Mum, he has been going off the rails. I largely attribute this to the fact that he's dating, and now engaged to, a woman who is distasteful in many ways that extend beyond the scope of this story. My brother and I have typically alternated holidays with Entitled Dad and my mum. It was time for Thanksgiving with Entitled Dad and family who live out of state. My job allowed me to request time off for one winter holiday, be it Thanksgiving, Christmas, or New Year's. Knowing that we would travel to see Entitled Dad's family, which includes my 90-year-old grandfather on dialysis and great aunt, who is now in an old folks home for dementia, I figured it was a good choice to request off for work for Thanksgiving. Months prior, I called Entitled Dad to see if he was going to purchase airline tickets. He would respond, "Yeah, I'm working on it." 2 weeks prior to Thanksgiving, I start to ask more questions about the specifics. Since we lived in different cities in the same state. "Well, we're actually going to go to girlfriend's house." I was floored. Let's call his girlfriend Cheryl. In addition to other notable offenses, Cheryl has a nasty habit of completely ignoring my brother and I when my dad is not there to babysit. She is a really unsavory 60-something-year-old with non-existent social skills and a strong propensity to wear leather and cheetah print. I figured she would attempt to manipulate him into doing Thanksgiving her way. And, despite her multiple offenses, he is afraid to lose her and wind up alone. Really, the epitome of a healthy adult relationship right there. Note, when I confronted my dad about my mishaps with her, he vehemently denied that they had happened, and I should understand that she is a complex person. Well, after being bossed around constantly following my parents' divorce, I had about had it. I told him I wasn't going and I would be with Mum instead that year. I mean, he purposefully brushed me off and denied my questioning, thinking that it would work out in his favor. This caused an absolute kicking, screaming, crying uproar on Entitled Dad's behalf. "Do you know all the things I've done for you? Do I ever ask you for anything? Just this one time. Do you know how bad this makes me look?" I did feel a little bad, but housing and feeding me through age 18 is really the extent of what he's done for me. Meanwhile, it was really my mum who supported me emotionally and financially through college and now medical school. In fact, my dad isn't even aware that the process of becoming a doctor takes 7+ years in the States, but loves to tell Cheryl's friends that I'll be a doctor. Further, he told me, "Don't call your aunt." His sister we were to visit, as she didn't want us to stay there if we're all coming at separate times. Naturally, when I brought this up to my aunt months later, she had no idea what had transpired and assumed that we were just not planning on getting together for the Thanksgiving that year. Just reminiscing, as I'm 1 week away from a second trial of Thanksgiving with Entitled Dad. This time, I bought my own airline ticket to visit his family, but I will not be terribly surprised if he tries to pull an encore. And yes, OP says there will be a part 2 if they do in fact pull an encore. Hell yeah! And to stick with the holiday spirit, our next story was posted by user Rose Gold Feet, titled, "Blamed for Ruining Christmas." So this was a while back, but I thought I would pop it in here anyway. I used to work for a company that sells home phone, broadband, and television packages. In the UK, the majority of phone lines are installed by one company. So if you do need a phone line installing, you can be waiting up to 2 weeks. Christmas always had a longer lead time due to people buying new devices and wanting broadband. It's 5:30 p.m. on Christmas Eve. The call center shuts at 6 p.m. One guy calls in. He tells me he needs the internet installing. So I go through all the packages with him, go through all the legal jargon, etc. We get to the installation date, which was sometime in January. The nice guy that I had been speaking to suddenly turned aggressive and angry, screaming down the phone about how he had bought his son an Xbox for Christmas And what good is it that he cannot use it because I cannot get him broadband installed in less than 12 hours? No matter how many times I explained to him that I have given him the earliest possible date for installation, he wouldn't accept it. He was calling me a liar, asking me how can I live with myself knowing I've ruined his boy's Christmas. After throwing a few profanities at me, he hung up. He then called back 10 minutes later, wanting to book the date that we had discussed. That date had now moved by 3 days. Only himself to blame though. Our next story was posted by user AridDS05, titled, Karen Demands Commission Work for Free. I want to say at first that I am on hiatus for commissions and do not make models for just anyone online, and I make 3D models for 3D printers and rarely send them out. Depending on what it is a customer wants me to make, it can cost anywhere from $5 to $45, but I prefer to keep it cheap, as these things cost nothing but time to create. I enjoy doing it, and I've been in the same chair with having financial issues. But why would someone with financial issues have a 3D printer in operational condition? So I mostly keep the $45 price for if they want multiple things, have me print them, difficult things to make, and shipping. I mostly just do commissions from people who I work with for things like their little sibling's birthday present, or a model for a project. But I used to advertise this weird commission thing openly. I had a small website that I made with my friend, who I will call Anthony. Anthony helped keep everything under control and filter through which commissions I can and can't do, queue them, etc. So I could get the ones I was working on done quicker. There is a kid who is also in my workplace, and in a couple of my classes, who is an absolute jerk, who I will call Kyle, because that's just really what he is. Punches drywall and downs a Monster Energy drink. I was finishing up a PowerPoint in my biology class with Anthony, and Kyle walks up to me and starts talking about commissions. Hey, if I draw a picture of insert anime character here, can you make a 3D model for free since you know me? I was a little confused, since I had stated on my site, and almost everywhere, I had to go on hiatus due to the laptop I use for this task being broken. I beg your pardon, I replied. Can you make me an anime model? Anthony already looked a little irritated, and decided to respond for me. No, he can't right now. He typically doesn't do humans anyway. Kyle was already pissed. Well, why not? You know me, and I refuse to pay for something that takes, 5 minutes to create? I was dumbfounded by the idea that he thought it'd take 5 minutes to make an anime model from scratch. I don't know you well. We are acquainted, but even that just barely. If you want a name tag, I can write you down, as those typically take seconds to make, and only take 20 minutes at most, but only if you want a lot of detail. That is the only thing I will do for free, sorry. I replied this, trying to get back to finishing the PowerPoint. What is so exciting about a name tag? These dang models don't take much effort. Why can't you make me one? Kyle's voice was doing that stupid shaky thing where it is whispering but yelling, like a lot of Karens and Kyles do. Anthony decided to respond again this time. These models can take upwards of 10 hours to create at times. Now, can you do me and both Aridas a favor and just get out of here? Frick off? Not until you tell me why you can't make a cheap model, Kyle snapped. Look, Kyle, it's rare for me even to make my closest friends' models for free. I mostly just discount it. Plus, my home laptop broke yesterday. This is the one I make commissions on. I've posted it everywhere that the commissions are closed for a while. I also explicitly stated on every piece of media that I'm on that I do not do humans. And like stated, I barely know you. Kyle stormed off, and both me and Anthony thought that that would be the end of it. Big surprise. It wasn't. On my website, I posted an alternate phone number, and forgot to take it down when I went on hiatus. I was at my job at Taco Bell, I'm a cashier, and when I went on break, I checked my phone and it had 94 missed calls. 94. And whoever the hell it was still trying to contact me. so I head outside and text that person. Hey, who is this, and why did you call me 94 times in a 3-hour period? I texted. A minute or so later, my phone buzzed. Cole, can't text well. So, in a second of sheer stupidity, I answered their next call. Hi, is this Aridius or Anthony from the 3D modeling commissions? A voice that screamed Karen went on. Yes, this is Aridius, ma'am. I am on hiatus, so I won't be done with it for quite a while. Whatever it is you are commissioning, but I can put you in the queue. I was cut off. Did you tell Kyle that you won't accept his money simply for asking for a model? He came home upset and he told me you said that. Ma'am, he tried to get me to do a commission for free of something I explicitly stated will not do while I'm on hiatus. If he really wants that model, he's gonna have to find another way to do so. I sighed. Well, he said you denied him service, which you have no right to do. Karen's whiny voice was practically stabbing my eardrums by now. It's mine and Anthony's business. If we want to refuse service, let alone do something we said we won't do for free, with no way to do so, we can. And quite frankly, the display you're putting on right now, I will do just that. You stole my son's money. I will report you, Karen snapped. Oh my freaking god, woman. I am not doing commissions for anyone. I did not take any money. He tried to get something that I can't do from me for free. I can't do commissions until my laptop is repaired anyways. I had enough of this bullcrap. Well, he wants that model that he paid for, so make him one. It's not like they take that long. He said they take 5 minutes at most. They aren't that hard. Just suck it up and spend 5 minutes. He more than deserves that from you, who he says bullied him. I dropped my hat on the ground, after deciding that I probably wouldn't give up without a fight, as I am not really good at walking away from conflict. I did not bully him. Models take hours. Well, he said he can make one in 5 minutes. Then tell him to do it, I snapped back, now attracting attention from the people in the fast food line. So I decided to start walking down the stores behind the shop. He can't make humans, she said back. Neither can I. I am pretty sure she heard the cars were passing by and exploded. I hope you're hit by a car. Now make my son's model before I do it myself. I gasped and looked out onto the passing traffic, then at my phone. It was a $15 flip phone that I bought specifically for my business. It wouldn't cost much, and it'd be funny. I threw the phone into the traffic, where it got crushed. I continued to my house. The next day at school, I explained to Anthony what happened, and why the business phone number needs to be removed, and why it will be changed, and why I needed a new business phone. Kyle walked into class and looks throughout, and is infuriated when he sees me. As in, temper tantrum, breaking crap infuriated. He starts throwing crap at me and yells, "You're supposed to be dead!" Thankfully, a teacher overheard the commotion and escorted him to the office. I never heard from his mum or him again. Our next story was posted by user MewLover23, titled, "Entitled Mother Gets Mad That I Don't Want to Play With or Hug Her Kid. Claims racism." Short story. I just recently remembered this event. Not sure if I posted it. I used to have to take public transport to and from college a few years back. I had been waiting for a connecting bus and saw a little girl who had been maybe 2 years old, running around and playing with other people there. At some point, she came to me and hugged my legs. It caused me to freeze because I didn't like being touched, and because I've seen parents freak out over strangers playing and talking to their kids. The mother turns around, sees what's going on, and just starts yelling, asking why I wasn't playing with her kid, saying that I should play with her kid, making a claim that I was racist. I'm white, she was African American, because apparently the kid was half African American and half Mexican. Couldn't really get a word in edgewise, and ended up just being terrified the rest of the time due to the looks that everyone gave me and the fact that she rode the bus that I was going on. Oh, that was a mess. That is a mess of a story. Our next story was posted by user Bluelin, titled, "Entitled Parents Try to Control My Name." So, let's say my name is Cassandra for this story. My parents never really called me by my name. They gave me some really stupid nickname that wasn't even close to my real name. So by the time I started school, I had zero idea what my name actually was. They realized I couldn't handle Cassandra, so it was shortened to Cass. As I got older, I was able to understand and handle Cassandra, but I hated it. I loved Cass and decided that that would be my name. My family immediately agreed, but the entitled parents were having none of it. EP: "Hi Cassandra." "Hi, my name's Cass." "No it's not, it's Cassandra." "I know, but I like Cass." "But that's a boy's name. Wouldn't you like Cassie or Andra?" "No, my name's Cass." "Bye Cassandra." Continuing this for several years until they completely forgot I actually had a name. Edit: "Oh, I forgot. My middle name is so out there, I was told by the teacher to never use it because she couldn't pronounce it." What? What's up with these short stories? And our next story was posted by user Nova_iWarrior, titled, "Entitled Mother Shouts at Me When Entitled Kid Rams Me Off of My Bike." This is from a couple of years ago, but can remember it like the back of my hand. Me too. Here we go. Entitled mother is EM, entitled kid is EK, MG is the nice grandpa, and I'm OP. So, what happened was I was riding my bike around this bandstand in a park in the West Midlands, with my grandpa sitting on a bench fishing ice cream we had before I started cycling. Finishing, he was not fishing ice cream, sorry. I was having fun until I noticed another boy, around 5 or 6, in a go-kart going at quite speed. I just ignored it, but 5 minutes later, the little crap was racing right towards me at full speed, and knocks me off my bike, resulting in me falling on my side and cutting my elbow. My grandpa rushed over to me to tend to my injuries, and I get back up to see entitled kid pretending to be hurt on the floor. The way he rammed me couldn't have resulted in him falling off. Here comes entitled mother. EM: "What the hell? Why did you ram my kid off?" Nice grandma: You should be asking your child that. He knocked my grandchild off." "My little angel would never do something like that. Your grandson is stupid." Me: "Excuse me lady, but your son just rammed me off my bike and hurt me. He's pretending to be hurt because there's no way he fell off the way he crashed into me." Entitled kid: "Mom, I'm hurt." Entitled mother quickly tends to her kid and sees no bruise or cuts whatsoever, and then looks at me to see my elbow bleeding. "Learn some manners, boy. That is not how you interact with others in a park." Entitled mother and entitled kid storm off to their bench, and he looks back at me with an evil smile on his face, and then continues to drive like a madman around the stand. I get another ice cream because of the ordeal. Be careful, guys. Kiddie NASCAR can be very dangerous. And our next story was posted by user Tulips_garden, titled, "Entitled Mum Wants Me to Sneak a Carry-On Suitcase Onto a Plane." Okay, so here we go. I am a volleyball coach, and a few years ago we went to a national tournament in San Francisco. One of the mums couldn't make it and paid me $500 to babysit her kid. I was 15 at the time, but it was okay because we weren't going to do anything. Just the tournament and then go back to the hotel. I would have been fine doing the babysitting for any other girl on the team, but her mum just really irked me. I ended up doing it because I needed the money. Here is where it gets awful. 3 months before the trip, my boss arranged the flight for me and the girl. We flew Spirit Airlines, and the flight was dirt cheap, but they nickel and dime you for every little thing. So when my boss bought the tickets, she bought one checked bag for $30 and stressed to the both of us that we can't have a carry-on. A backpack was fine, but a carry-on would cost us $40 at the gate. I'm completely fine with this, and my mother lets me borrow her giant suitcase. For the next 2.5 months, every time I see the girl and her mum, I bring something up about how we should get together a day or two before the trip, because I left a bunch of room in my suitcase for her. I wanted to get the suitcase squared away before the day of the flight, because our flight was at 6:30 AM and we'd be driving to the airport at 3 AM. Well, I show up to the girl's house, and you'll never believe what she has. She walks out with a carry-on. And oh my goodness, I'm still trying. I gave her one last opportunity and say, "Hey, you know that carry-on is going to be extra. I've left your daughter a lot of space in my bag." The mum just cuts me off and tells me it'll be fine. There was a 2-hour car ride where I just bit my tongue and she lectured me on the danger of alligators. California doesn't even have alligators? Well, surprise, surprise. Fast forward to me and her daughter boarding the plane, and they want to charge us for the carry-on. They will only expect card payment. Her mother didn't give her a credit card, only gave her $100 for food for her 5 days in San Francisco, which is one of the most expensive cities in the country. I ended up on the phone with the mother for 30 minutes, talking about how she's going to pay for this. She was shocked and asked me if I could sneak on the carry-on. I ended up paying for her daughter with my card, but how would I possibly sneak a carry-on suitcase onto a plane? It was not a small bag. The total amount of money the mum owed me afterwards was $700 plus, because her daughter couldn't afford things with cash and I needed to pay for her. What kind of example is that to be setting for her kid? This is my first time traveling alone, and I was already nervous to begin with. Ugh, she's on my team again this year because her daughter is not insane. A great player and an overall sweetheart. I don't even know how she came from this woman. If she wasn't the spitting image of her, I would have guessed that she was adopted. Edit. The mum did pay me back, but it took her a really long time and I had to ask repeatedly. After 6 months, I told her I was going to take her to a small claims court and she miraculously gave me the money. And our next story was posted by a user, Terragati, titled, "Entitled Parent Has No Courtesy." This is not the typical outrageous entitled parent story, if that's what you're looking for. Today, you will get to know a different kind of entitled parent. So, the entitled parent of my story is the worst kind of them all. It's the kind you can't get away from because it is my mother. Today, we went over to my grand's apartment for lunch. A thing to note that is in my country, it is common to have maids, but my grandparents, and my family until recently, don't have any. This is important for later into the story. My grandmother is very active in the church, so there was an event today and no one else wanted to go, so I went instead. Before heading to the event, I ordered pizza for the family because no one wanted to cook. The event lasted for about 1.5 hours, which was mostly just waiting around for the priest to show up and chatting with my grandmother's friends. Once it finished, we packed up and headed back to her place. Since we took so long, everyone else ate already, and it was just me and her left eating at the table. After we finished, she was the only one cleaning. I tried to help, but she insisted I didn't. Meanwhile, my mum was sitting at the sofa, not moving. Mind you, they left a bit of a mess as well. Now, this is where the no maids comes into play. For a good 9 months, we only had a cleaning lady come on weekends. At first, I was the one cleaning the house and the dishes, and we would have the laundry done on the weekends. I soon got tired of this because my mum was a mess. It would come to a point where she would leave plates, cups, and utensils in the sink, bedside table, dining table, anywhere she could put them really, all unwashed for days, sometimes weeks. Her laundered clothes would be stacked on chairs and the side of her bed. She would never sweep her room or wipe any of the surfaces. She had dogs that she just left and would let their poop accumulate in the backyard. Mind you, she would never walk the dogs at all. and one of them is a lab that was wildly untrained and out of control. She even bit my dog, but that's a story for another time. And these dogs managed to go from fat and fluffy to skinny little things because she forgot to feed them. Basically, she was operating as if we still had people to pick up after her. Whenever I would lecture her about it, she would say, "Those aren't mine, and I didn't use those." Or when she couldn't use that excuse, "Don't worry, I'll get to it." We got into a huge argument because she didn't want to even look for new maids and stated, "Well, we can just clean the house ourselves." The point was, she couldn't even clean after herself. I realized that during the time we didn't have maids, she would spend more and more time at my grandmother's house. All those times my mother didn't come home while we were maidless, this is what she was doing to her. She was leaving her 65-year-old mum to clean by herself while she relaxed at the sofa watching TV. She basically had a free maid to cook and clean after her. This was probably going on for the longest time, and I couldn't fathom how someone could just leave their mother to do all the work. It was one thing to be lazy in your own home, but in someone else's? My grandmother afterwards started folding clothes, so I started helping her out. Meanwhile, my mum is still relaxing on the couch. When it got really late, like 12, my sis wanted to leave as she was the one driving. My mum took forever to get up. My sis got so ticked, she left. So what does my mum do? She then asks my gran for a glass of water, when she was literally 5 steps away from the kitchen. After a while, I told my mum to hurry up because Sissy was waiting for her, and it looked to me like she was taking her sweet time. She then snapped with a, "Yeah, wait, my foot is wet." When she was done, she was still looking around, not caring about how long she was taking. When we finally left the condo 15 minutes later, we went down and had to walk and look for my sis a bit because she moved the car. When we got in, my mum threw my sissy's bag out of her way so she could sit. My sis's laptop was in the backpack, and of course, my sis is ticked and says, "What the hell? Don't throw my things. My laptop is in there. Hand me my laptop now." Mum is huffing and shoves the bag back to my sis. My sis hadn't put the car on neutral, so I told her to give it to me so I can check it while she drives. After I make sure it's okay, my mum asks for the laptop, and she shoves it back into my sis's bag. She's still pissed off for no reason. I can tell because of the way the laptop thuds when it's tossed into the bag, and I can hear her zip the bag roughly. She doesn't even apologize and huffs and puffs in the back seat. I proceed to drown her out with rap music. This is the other entitled parent I think receives little attention exposure. The kind that believes they don't need to have basic courtesy because they were family, and when you live with someone, it's obvious you'll see them at their worst, in her words. It's the kind that chips away at you every day with the small things they do because they can't empathize with anyone but themselves. P.S. If mods don't think that this is entitled enough, please delete. Edit. Thank you for my first gold. To anyone actually wondering, my mum's dog bit my dog. My mum didn't bite my dog, but she did make me pay for it. What? Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed that story. Tell me what you thought of that down in the comments below. If you have any feedback for the videos, I'd love to know. If you want to watch some more videos or subscribe, links are always on the screen. Hope you guys have a good day, and I'll see you later. Bye!